Hello, in today's video I'll be talking about circumference and area of a circle. Here we have a circle, and this blue line from the center to the edge is called the radius. So any line from the center of a circle to the edge of the circle is called a radius. The diameter is any line from one edge to another edge of the circle as long as it goes through the middle. And as you can see, the diameter is always twice the radius, because if we were just to extend this radius to the other side of the circle, it would be a diameter. And so diameter is always made up of two radiuses, and radius is half the diameter. The circumference is the distance around the outside, similar to the perimeter of like a rectangle or square. So the circumference is the perimeter of a circle. Now, over the years throughout history, when people measured the distance around a circle and measured the diameter of a circle, they always came up with the same answer when they divided the circumference by the diameter, and it was always the same number, and we call it pi, which is about 3.14. Now, as you all know, that goes on forever and ever and ever and does not repeat ever. And we also have other approximations of pi. Sometimes we use 22/7. I'll explain a little later what the benefit of the fractional version is versus the decimal version. And other cultures use different approximations for pi. So because every circle has this number, circumference divided by diameter equals pi, we also know that the circumference of every circle is equal to the pi, or the number pi, times diameter. Now, we also know that the diameter of a circle is twice the radius, so some people would say, let me get rid of that. So some people say that the circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r, which is the exact same formula because we know that the diameter is just 2 times r. So either one is acceptable. So all of the area formulas that we've used this chapter have been derived from the formula for the area of a rectangle. And strangely enough, a circle can also be derived, or the area of a circle can also be derived from the area of a rectangle. So I looked online and I found this YouTube video by Russell Kitely. And what we see here is this circle, and the circumference is shown, 2 pi r is the one he used. And then we also have the radius here in black. Now, the circle is cut into a bunch of slices, looks like pizza slices, mini pizza slices. And as you can see, each triangle here, each pizza slice triangle, has a height of r. Okay, so let's see what happens. So we're going to unfold this circle and unfold all the triangles. Now, as you can see, the distance of this line on the bottom, once that circle's been unfolded, is the circumference, so 2 pi r, and the height is the height of each triangle, which was the radius. Now, if we cut that in half, spin it, and put it on top, kind of like teeth coming together, what you can see is we've got a parallelogram here. And the parallelogram has a base that is half of 2 pi r, or pi times r times 2, then divided by 2, so which is just pi r, and the height is r. So we have pi r times r, which is pi r squared. So we will use that. Area equals pi r squared. So the two formulas you need to use for this lesson are circumference equals, and either one of these will work for circumference, and the area formula is this. Okay. Now don't be confused here, because r squared is completely different than 2r. So don't assume that you can plug in the diameter here instead of r squared. Okay. Whereas for 2r you could just use the diameter. Okay. The only time that would actually work is if the radius were 2, because 2 times 2 is the same as 2 squared. Okay, so let's come up with some examples. This circle here with a diameter of 12 meters, and we need to find the circumference and the area. The best thing to do when you're trying to memorize a formula is write it down as much as possible. So what I do when I'm trying to memorize a formula is every problem that I do that requires the formula, rather than having it written on the top of the page one time, I rewrite it every time I do a problem until I have it memorized. So first thing I'm going to do is write circumference equals pi times diameter. Now the reason I use pi d instead of 2 pi r is because I'm given d, so I might as well use it. And then I'll plug in. So the circumference is going to be, now there's a few things that we can do for pi. Like before, I said we can use 3.14 as an approximation. Some calculators have a button that has a pi on it, which is also an approximation, but it's going to be a lot closer than 3.14. And then we can also use 22/7. In this case, I'm just going to use 3.14, and then I'm going to multiply by the 12 meters, and then I have to do some multiplication. So 3.14 times 12, we got an 8, a 2, a 6, placeholder 0, we got a 4, and a 1, and a 3, add that all up, and we get, looks like 37.68. So oftentimes what we'll do is write approximately 37.68, and we're talking about meters. Now this is a distance around, so it's not square meters, it's just regular meters. Now we need to find the area of this same circle here. Let me move some stuff around. Oh, I guess that 12 is attached. Okay. Let's move all this out of here. Alright, there we go. So now if I want to find the area of this same circle, its area equals pi r squared. So again, I'm going to plug in. We can use 3.14 again. And we're going to plug in r, which is 12. Oops, just kidding. It's not 12. R is actually half of 12, so 6, and then squared. Now if we look at this formula, we see that there's this 2 here, which is squaring a number, but which number? Is it squaring pi r, or is it squaring just r? So it's important to know the rules for exponents, and the rule is the exponent sees whatever is right next to it. And so in this case it only sees the radius. So we need to do the exponent before the multiplication with pi. So we have to square 6 first and then multiply to pi. So we're actually going to end up with 3.14 times 36. And we'll do some math over here. So we got 24, 8, 18, 0, 12, and then 3, 4, 5, and 9. So here we have a 4, 0, 1, 9, 14, 9, 10, 11. Again, we have 2 decimal places here, and so the area is going to equal 114.04. Now, area is square units, so we write meters squared. And so that's how to use the circumference and area formula for this circle. So now I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. We're going to try the other circle. So now we have this circle with a radius of 14 inches. First thing we're going to do is find the circumference. Again, writing out the formula until I have it memorized. So I could use pi d, but now I have a radius, so I'm going to use 2 pi r for the circumference. So we have 2, and we have pi. Now I'm going to show you why I'm going to use 22/7 instead of 3.14, and the radius is 14. What I'm always looking for to determine whether I'm going to use 3.14 or 22/7 is a radius that is divisible by 7. Because rather than have to mess with a bunch of decimals, this is actually going to come out really nicely. So if we think of this as multiplying fractions, which it is, I know that when I reduce oops, that's not a 7. Sorry about that. Let's fix that up. I know that's a 14 over 1. There we go. Now we're all good. I know that when I reduce this 14 with this 7, I'm going to get a whole number up top. So I don't even have to deal with a decimal at all, because I know that I now have to just do 2 times 22, which is 44, times 2, which is 88. So rather than have to work it out on paper, I was able to do this one in my head because I knew that 14 was divisible by 7. So I pick and choose when I use 3.14 and when I use 22 over 7 based on the information I'm given to make it as easy as possible for myself, which I think you should try to do as well. So let's move this out of the way. Alright, now we're going to do the area. And the same thing is true here. So we got pi r squared. I'm still going to use 22 over 7 because I'm still going to be reducing with this 14. Another thing you can do here, rather than square the 14 first, is write it all out like so. So rather than actually multiplying 14 times 14, I could just write it out like I will multiply it, and then just do my reduction first. 14 divided by 7 is 2, just like before. And now again, I don't have to deal with any decimals. It's just whole number multiplication. So 22 times 2 is 44. I'm still going to have to do some work on paper here, but it's minimal and preferred. 0, 4, 4, and so we end up with 6, 1, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like the area is going to be 616. Don't forget the square units now, inches squared. Alright, and that should do it for the video. Thanks for watching.